It sounds surprising to say this in 2022, but there used to be a time when people used to look forward to Ubisoft games. Starting the 7th generation of consoles, they had started taking risks and modernizing some other IPs while introducing new ones. They were hit or miss, but we were all optimistic because everything was new. You never knew what to expect or how to expect it. For me, I was among the maybe 10 people who didn't get into their franchises like Assassin's Creed as they happened. I didn't even get to start playing with them until last year. And now, 1 year later, I feel like it's time we explore the part of the franchise that fans consider the best of the best, right before anyone could realize they will annualize it and burn everyone out to the point where changes and improvements to each sequel were barely noticeable. But like I always like to say, hindsight is a powerful thing. It helps you analyze and understand how much better or worse something you enjoyed or disliked was, and it helps you gain a new appreciation for it, which is why I like playing and reviewing older games. So, after proof of concept like Assassin's Creed 1, how does the second game fares out? Let's find out step by step. In Assassin's Creed 2, we follow the story of Ezio di Torre de Firenze, a young Italian nobleman growing up in Florence during the Renaissance, enjoying the life of a larger-than-life ladies' man who gets to parkour with his brother for fun, all while feuding with the Pazzi family over honor or stuff like that. But then everything changes when his father suddenly gets jailed, and a series of unfortunate events lead Ezio into a 20-year-long quest of revenge. This will become the first of a long-running series of revenge stories for Ubisoft. Characters usually getting their motivation to go on to the adventure the game passes through with the death of a loved one as the main catalyst. But for this time, I say I like this plot. The bigger reason I like this is because what starts as a quest for revenge quickly evolves and uncovers a wealth of political intrigue and a major plot for the Templars, a shadowy faction and main enemies of the Assassins, to take over Italy by planting people they control into its governments, which in turn will lead into a dark age of oppression for the people. I will argue, more than a revenge story, this is also a coming-of-age tale for Ezio. When he starts the story, like I said, he is a hammy, larger-than-life guy who just wants to have fun with the ladies and enjoying the finest things in life. But the losses he faces, and coping with his own desire for revenge, turns him to a completely different person. He actively grows both in skill and in wisdom, and I appreciate the game actually spans over a decade, or well, 2 decades, because there is a degree of realism on how long it will take people like him to piece together everything, and travel through Italy to accomplish his goals. Which again is happening during the Renaissance. And to accomplish those goals, we once again have the powers of parkour and social stealth. The gameplay this time around has been expanded. The loop of gathering information on your target before moving in on them has been replaced. Now, every one of your assassination targets have their own sets of circumstances and scenarios to take them down, and the missions leading up to said assassinations do in fact play a hand in setting them up. This is great because this turns each assassination into its own story. You can ally yourself with other people and have them help you from behind the scenes to get to your target. You can sabotage the territory your target controls to stir things up and force them out of hiding. You can take part in a contest that will allow you to disguise yourself and infiltrate the enemy territory. You can even weaken the influence of your targets by taking down their enforcers, and in turn, get more intel on what the main conspirators are planning. And the list just goes on. The number of targets is larger this time around, but the possibilities on how you can take them down is greatly expanded. Sometimes the game will have its own set of rules on how you approach them, but to a degree, this kind of allows for lateral thinking, so each objective completion can feel more like you are pulling off crazy sneaky moves yourself instead of simply following a scripted set piece, which are still part of the game, but not to the same degree as before. This is all helped by how your arsenal is now expanded as well. There's no experience points or a leveling system yet, but we get a variety of weapons and other tools to make disposing of enemies a lot easier. From throwing knives, to smoke bombs, to even poison. The social stealth has grown too. This second game in the franchise addresses the elephant in the room, and that is how every assassin in this franchise sticks out like a sore thumb while wearing their robes and uniforms. This game in particular, this is most notable because Ezio is a wanted man. So how do you hide from guards that are suspecting you? Why, you simply hide in a crowd. It's pretty gamey because you are still wearing a unique set of clothes that stick out, but in theory it works because you are literally mixing yourself in the crowd. You can even weaponize this in your favor. Scattered around the city, there are factions of people you can pay off to help you out. Thieves will rob guards to make them leave their posts, working ladies will seduce them to take a break, and swordsmen will help you fight the enemy if push comes to shove. How you use them is your call, and in the case of groups like the Working Girls, they become a living stealth tank, as they will let you trail enemies and keep you undetected. I love it. But if you don't feel like paying people to help you sneak past guards, you can throw the money to the ground and weaponize civilians to make them distract guards with their greed to collect whatever coins you throw their way. I actually appreciate this amount of freedom, especially in a game about killing, because it's giving you non-lethal options to be as stealthy and conspicuous as you want to be. It's the kind of playground I could easily spend hours messing around with, and the developers figure we'd like as much because they made this into an open world. Speaking of which, how's the open world in this game? Well, I am a bit mixed on it. The busy work people will grow to get tired of in the coming years is here, and so is the infamous checklist, and of course the towers. Oh, the infamous towers. All 72 of them. Across the 4 different cities. And all of them revealing the map for you, and all of them being painfully redundant. See, for the sake of this review, and for the sake to see if all the talk about Ubisoft open worlds being bad because they are repetitive is true, I decided to focus in only specific parts of the checklist. I did not climb towers unless absolutely necessary. As I eventually found out, even in the second game to formally use them, they are just part of the checklist. All they truly reveal is the location of the many mentions in the game. Money boxes, Codex pages, and mission markers are going to show up in your minimap on the overworld, regardless if you climb the towers. And not climbing them proved to be beneficial for me, as not staring into the minimap enhanced my situational awareness. A general problem with minimaps in games is that you start to disregard whatever is on your screen, and you focus your eyes only on making sure you reach the market dots that are in the corner of your radar, and just press the needed buttons to activate the next part of the game. Without that crutch, you learn to pay attention around you, and I will get deeper into this when we get to Far Cry Primal, eventually. But this of course is rendered a bit redundant because again, all the markers that actually matter still show up in your minimap, so that makes the towers feel like a waste of time. But enough about the towers, how about the rest? Honestly, even for its time, it doesn't feel it's as different from the busy work from other open world games. Even from back in the 6 and 7 gen consoles. All the checklist content in this game exists to give you something to have fun with in case you want to take a break from the story, or if you just want to have a reason to keep playing well past the ending and credits already rolled. So let's talk about those. The only ones of note for me were the courier services, the Codex pages, and the assassination contracts. The courier services are essentially races, but with the flavor of you delivering important letters across town in a time limit. It's fun and not too complicated. The Codex pages are collectibles that are usually heavily guarded, and it honestly amazed me how by the end of the game, I had all but 2 of them, which I quickly found because they reveal themselves as the plot progresses. I get why. Collecting all the Codex pages are important to unlock the final mission and a major twist in the franchise. The other collectibles, not so much. There are 100 feathers scattered around the world that serve as a plot point for Ezio's mother. The money boxes are just, there. Much like with the towers and with the other checklists, is probably one I did not expect to enjoy as much as I did. Once Ezio has to leave Florence, you get an entire hub city for yourself. The villa is a place that has seen better days, and a little overarching side quest is paying an architect to restore it to its former glory. And you achieve that by simply investing money. Buying weapons, paintings, restoring buildings. This in turn not only makes the villa look a lot prettier and edge some discounts, it also becomes a passive source of income that will allow you to buy your other upgrades a lot easier. It didn't feel as monotonous as all I had to do was simply go back to the villa and pay the architect every time. It was nice, if a little unremarkable. It was also pretty short, because by the time I reached Vienna, I already maxed it all out, and money became redundant for me. So kudos for that. They made side content that actually got my interest. The other side content I did enjoy and hate at the same time were the assassin tombs. They are platforming challenges that put all you know about the parkour of the game to the test. They take you through a variety of environments, and while that was nice to experience, it also highlighted some of the serious flaws of the movement systems. See, one of many things Ubisoft is known for is because they made a parkour system that essentially plays itself, because all you have to do is hold 2 buttons and your character gracefully moves around the world, like one big playground. The problem is the parkour button is also the jump button. This means if you run too close to an edge or are facing the wrong direction and you are happening to hold the jump button, Ezio will automatically jump off the nearest ledge. And because the 2 buttons are so simple, they become muscle memory. You get constantly betrayed when you are trying to go through these time-sensitive challenges. It doesn't help that for things like the Assassin's Tombs, the game likes to change the camera angles to quote-unquote help you see where you are going, since they realize some of these obstacle courses are too narrow for the main camera. It's too bad the controls don't care where you are facing and will nearly become tank controls, because it cannot tell heads from tails and... They are lucky. The reward for getting all 6 tombs nets you the best looking armor in the entire game. And much like the Codex pages, they automatically show up in your minimap, so finding them is child's play. You know what is not so easy to find? The secret programs. Cryptic little symbols hidden around the map that take you to a weird puzzle thing that will net you a 2-second fragment of a video clip, which could be interesting, except, well, I don't want to dig around 4 different cities to find all 20 of them. It's even more tedious than the feathers, and I don't regret not looking for them in the post-game. In spite of that, my experiment with this game yielded surprisingly good results. For me, the true strength of this kind of game lies in the main story. The open world stuff makes more good as a little filler in between missions, or if you need money to buy some upgrades and supplies. So again, all these quote-unquote basic work people deride Ubisoft for having too much of feels like it's just something they put in just in case you wanted to keep playing after the end of the story. Not as a filler leading up to the end of the story, because once again, by the time I reached the 4th and final city, I maxed everything out, and the need to do side content for money became very redundant. But we will see how well my theory holds up as we go through more of Ubisoft's catalog, and if I end up changing my mind or not. For now, the main point is Assassin's Creed is a really good game. It realizes most of the potentials from the concepts introduced in the first game, and while Altair's tale of redemption was very entertaining, Ezio's coming-of-age story is full to the brim with personality. Nearly every cast member is memorable in their own way, and it helps a lot some of these people are actual historical figures. So it adds another layer of fun by looking up how they really were in real life compared to Ubisoft's artistic liberties. This is why I am giving the game a well-deserved and very good 8 out of 10. It's still rough around the edges, but man, it provided me with the fun I needed. The story is engaging, and again, for a story about revenge, it has more feeling of a coming-of-age story. It has certainly aged quite a bit, and it is also a testament to its time. This game was made around the time developers and gamers were convinced dull palette colors with brown and grey filters make a game look quote-unquote realistic and mature. And it's an age of gaming I certainly don't miss. But for once, I am glad this was just a phase, Mom. And later games will just have better color palettes and the gameplay will evolve for the better. At least I hope it does. Because it's Ubisoft, I didn't become infamous for no reason. I was also pleasantly surprised the mother storyline took a backseat. There are things building up to it, but right now I'm still not interested in it. Because again, the historical characters prove to have far more charisma and are up to far more interesting stuff than the Descendants are. But who knows? Got many more games to go, and we will see just how good or how bad the mother story serves as a backdrop for the historical storytelling. But considering how it hasn't fully hooked me up yet, I wouldn't really hold my breath for it.